What up, people? It's your boy Massachusetts out with another animated film review. So, Justice Society World War II came out today on the digital, and I gave it a watch. And I have to say that I enjoyed this film. Thought it was pretty nice. Um, this film was the same animated. It's animated in the same way as Superman: Man of Tomorrow was, and it also has the voice actor for Superman from that film reprising his role in this film. So we definitely have a new animated universe. But first of all, let's get into it. The plot's pretty simple. It begins with Flash. He's in Metropolis with Iris, and then trouble abounds when Brainiac attacks Metropolis. So he goes in and he and Superman team up. They engage Brainiac in battle. And then Brainiac is about to shoot Superman with a fast powered kryptonite projectile bullet. As it's about to hit Superman, though, Flash decides to supercharge himself and run, my guy. Run all the way to catch this bullet. But as he catches this bullet, it kind of triggers a type of, as you know with the Flash, a dimensional tunnel, and he runs. And it seems that he runs all the way back into time to World War II. And there, of course, he meets the Justice Society. He meets Jay Garrick, Hawkman, Wonder Woman, Hourman, and Black Canary, Dinah Lance. And so, as a fish out of the water, the usual basically goes ahead and fights and saves a village from Nazi soldiers. And so this team, the Justice Society, was sanctioned by FDR under the supervision of Steve Trevor and an associate known as Shakespeare. So they decide to have Flash, team up with them, considering to keep that, hey, we can't allow you to be going around, gonna have to stick with us. You can't say anything because, time and whatnot. So Barry decides to, by the way, the Flash is Barry Allen. Barry decides to team up with them. And their first mission, I guess, with him together is that there's a castle in Bavaria that's holding a very prized decoder who's been imprisoned. And they got to bust him out to decode a secret message that they have. And we see that as they go in, they learn two things, basically. They learn that, for starters, one, that the prisoner is Dr. Fate. And Dr. Fate, is seeing all these possibilities. He's definitely been tortured, if you see in the film. And they managed to decode that there's something happening within the Bermuda Triangle, which is where the coordinates lead to. The second thing is that Shakespeare, who teamed up with them, it's discovered that he is actually Clark Kent, who was Superman. But as Barry is looking at him, he's like saying this can't be possible because there's no way Clark Kent should even exist in the 1940s during World War II. So he then deduces that I haven't gone back in time. I've gone to another Earth. And so they realize that they're going to have to sort things out later, but the mission is at hand. So they go in and they basically head to the Bermuda Triangle through a submarine, and through the usual submarine warfare, they manage to be saved by the Atlanteans, him with an advisor who then leads the team, to Aquaman in this case. So Aquaman is like, hey, all right, I'll help you guys. And so as they're going to check out this new secret weapon that they want to do, it turns out that they've been imprisoned by Aquaman, who is under the control of this advisor, who has convinced him to team and set his loyalties with the Nazis. So they decide to go and begin their attack. But luckily, through the help of Jay Garrick and Barry Allen, they manage to escape the prison, where they find out that there's going to be an attack on New York. And of course, that Aquaman and the advisor have gone to the trench to unleash horrific monsters for the battle as well. So They split into two teams. You basically have Barry Allen and Wonder Woman go after Aquaman and his advisor, while the rest go to New York to stop the initial attack. So we get great battle, of course. Um, we get casualties as well, as you know. It was a pretty fast-paced battle. We lose Hawkman, a very emotional loss for Dinah. Um, and then in addition to that, everybody's pulling their weight. Dinah's doing, Black Canary's doing great things. Before he died, Hawkman was doing great things. Jake Garrick is doing his thing. Our Man was doing his thing. Steve Trevor was going about doing his thing as well. Um, Great battle as well. All in. Then, of course, at the trench, we see a great fight between Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Um, but they fail to stop Aquaman from unleashing the trench. And so when the trench comes about, they begin fighting and everything like that. Aquaman's leading it, and they're trying to stop these beasts, which they do. Jay Garrick defeats this giant crab, and Black Canary basically screams the flesh off of this shark, this flying shark hybrid thing. But the Leviathan, which is looks very familiar from the one in the from the Aquaman live action film in 2018, also appears very powerful as well. We see that Flash and Wonder Woman surface, and Wonder Woman and Aquaman engage in a fight. Very high action, very high paced. Um, it was definitely animated well. The choreography was great. Um, but Aquaman looks to gain the upper hand on Wonder Woman, and he's about to, basically stab her through the head. Steve Trevor comes in, drives a police car, hits my guy, saves her, and decides to take him on. And, he tries. Even Aquaman, under his control state, says, "Hey, I admire your bravery, but you have no business fighting with gods." And as he's about to end Steve Trevor, Wonder Woman comes in, blocks the thing, and they begin to fight. And she releases him on his trident. And as he's trying to use his control over the trident to take it back, she breaks it, which knocks her back out and knocks him in. And then it also knocks him out of the control of the advisor. And then he realizes that, oh my gosh, what have I done? Look at all this damage. This can't be happening. Out of shame for what he's done, he retreats and brings his troops back. So you would think that, all is well, everything is good, but it's not. Because the advisor tells Steve Trevor, don't you hear the sound of your defeat? Steve Trevor looks in the sky and he sees these Nazi bombers coming in to bomb New York. And before he can even react, the advisor stabs him through the back with the broken front end of the trident. And, luckily Barry comes in and knocks him out. And Steve Trevor is like saying you have to find a way to stop these bombers. But none of them can. But before they do, they see something in the sky, and it's a Superman of this Earth. And he destroys all the bombers, basically, one by one. And if you don't know about this particular Superman, he's been keeping an identity because he felt that, this Superman is obviously different from the one that we all know. His adopted parents were perished when he was 3. So he was put in an orphanage, and that kind of changed his mind of thinking, to keep his powers to himself, to only look out for yourself. He didn't have the loving family care that he had when he was a full child, a teenager, and young adult with the Kents. And so he became a little bit more jaded. But Wonder Woman in this one said that, you're no different from the Nazis, basically, which, it was unfair, but, in a way it's to say that, hey, you have all this power, you can't just do anything. You can't just do nothing, sorry. You got to do something. And then he realized and said, well, yeah, I thought it was time for me to do something. I couldn't just sit back and on the sidelines. But of course, we see the sad things. We see that Steve Trevor dies in Diana's arms. Decide to basically send the Flash back, saying the rest of them will find the advisor who disappeared mysteriously after the whole battle. So Jay Garrick and Flash run. Jay Garrick manages to push the Flash super speed. So as he, as we see a very interesting thing, like, in the beginning of the film, Flash grabs the kryptonite bullet and he goes to another Earth. After that Flash leaves, we see that same Flash come back, and he catches that kryptonite bullet and throws it at Brainiac, destroying and killing Brainiac. And Superman was like, "Oh, well, dang." And then Flash basically says that, "Hey, Brainiac won't be the last threat. There'll be more threats that'll keep attacking our cities. We need to join forces, basically." And that's the idea of the beginning of the Justice League in this universe, in this Earth. And of course, after everything, Barry decides to propose to Iris. So that's that. So we'll get into a couple of things and what I thought. First, what do I think? What do I think about this new universe? Because it is a new universe. It's definitely a lot more lighthearted and less dark than the New 52. I think that might have been purposeful, but who knows? I love the New 52 movies. I thought they were great pieces of film, and I would hope maybe one day we get a what if in that animated type of universe. It definitely defined DC animated movies to me. But I think that this new universe will definitely do very well. We'll get into the characters. First, Barry Allen is, he's kind of like an everyman type of guy. It's just going through the flow. Uh, uh, they, it's basically, it's basically, he's just, regular Barry Allen, nothing to like or dislike. He, he's the same as the Barry Allen as you saw in Flashpoint. I feel like there's no change in that. So he was very likable. I really liked him. Um, Going forward, we go to the Justice Society. Wonder Woman, I really liked her. She could be. She had humor. She was very likable. She was a very natural leader. Um, Very humble. She was basically doing it all. I really liked this version of Wonder Woman. And of course, this is we learn that in this Wonder Woman, basically, the mascara seems to have been destroyed because in the movie, Aquaman mentions like, "Hey, I heard about what happened to Themyscira, and I'm sorry." Um, and so that's that. Her and Steve Trevor have a very, very, they have natural chemistry. They work well together. But she's, of course, somebody. This Wonder Woman's like saying, "I can't relax until the mission is done. I can't relax. I can't afford myself happiness until the war is over." And we see in the movie that when Steve Trevor dies, he tells Barry that I made a terrible mistake. I should have I should have pursued and cherished what was being offered in the now instead of postponing it. And she's like saying, "Don't make that same mistake." So this one woman was very interesting. Liked her a lot. The next person who I thought was pretty nice was Jay Garrick. He was he was a nice Flash. You don't see a lot of Jay. You never saw a lot of Jay Garrick in the animated films. In fact, I think this is the first appearance of Jay Garrick in an animated film. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he's more serious than Barry. He has more knowledge of the Speed Force than Barry, and in tandem, as a scientific mind, he worked well with Our Man as well. Really liked their dynamic as well. Jay Garrick was very good. Very liked him a lot. Our Man, he was very likable. He was the other scientist. He helped provide a voice of reason. You don't see much of him, but he contributes well. That was very good. Um, Hawkman was kind of like the wise sage, and he kind of had good chemistry with Black Canary. Um, you know, I kind of felt bad when he died, but he was like, "Hey, I'll be back. This is my fourth reincarnation. Basically, this is the fourth reincarnation with Hawkman because you know how Hawkman does." He definitely had knowledge of the ancient. He was able to recognize who Doctor Fate was in that prison, basically. So because they had history before, did reincarnation. Black Canary in this one was definitely my. I'd say she's my Black Horse candidate. It's one of my favorites. I really liked her. She was kind of the the loner, you know, kind of the I'm gonna fight first and ask questions later. She kind of shuts herself off, and she was kind of worried. What's the point of all this? Like, because she realized that Flash came from the future initially, and he doesn't know anything about us. And she's like saying, well, what's the point of fighting if nobody knows what we do now or what we would have done in the future? And clearly, she's like, she closes herself off, which is why, Hawkman tries to, Carter Hall basically tries to open her up a bit, trying to say, hey, life is good and it's worth living and don't shut yourself off. So it was a very good one. Steve Trevor was very proactive in this. Just because he didn't have powers doesn't mean that he can't do anything. He was definitely proactive. He was definitely always in the field, always doing what he had to do. The funny thing about him is that he proposed every day to Diana whenever they did the war, as far as this war was going on, and he was like saying, "I do this because she said she'd say yes one day, and that makes every other day sweet." And so yeah, and he's a brave man indeed. And when he died, it was like, dang man, that's a blow. And his last words with Diana were like, "Hey, please grant me a dying wish." Grant a dying man his wish. And she accepted his marriage proposal, and she won, and it was done sincerely. But of course, it was really sad when he couldn't even put the ring on her finger as he died, unfortunately. As we can do the Superman, we're a bit quick. Um, Superman from Barry Allen's time was, we don't see much of him, but all I have to say is that he's pretty much Clark from the Superman Man of Tomorrow. The Superman of the Other Earth was very interesting, and I liked his backstory a bit. That, hey, my adoptive parents died. I was put in an orphanage. I became jaded. I'm a reporter still. I look for the story. That's all I've used my powers for. Don't want anybody to know, and I keep to myself. But then he got a change of heart. And that was good. Um, the villains were kind of course, one dimensional. They're Nazis, so we know we know the Nazis are bad and all that. Aquaman, it was interesting. His design was intriguing, and they fought, and he was just there as a secret weapon. But it was good, interesting to see him feel remorse for the destruction he did on the surface world, which is an interesting. It's something new I haven't seen from Aquaman in a lot of properties when he was brutal. Because I remember Justice League, he initially didn't care about the surface world until he was convinced and whatnot. So it's just a new thing I've seen from an animated perspective. Then of course you have Iris, who was just there, um, you know, and she wasn't bad, but there's not much you can do. Um, Pros and cons. The pros, characters are great, as I mentioned with my character spiel. The animation I thought was top notch. It was definitely good. I liked it in Superman Man of Tomorrow, and I thought it was enhanced in this film, if I had to say. Fight choreography, definitely an up from the last film. It was well done, and of course, simply because a lot of these characters are trained hand-to-hand combatants, warriors. So of course, more will need to be done with them. Fight choreography was great. Animation was great. Um, the score was also nice, and there were times where I thought that they incorporated a lot of DCEU elements. Like from the beginning, I could have sworn that I heard Diana's Wonder Woman theme from the Wonder Woman movie, but I thought the score was good as well. So, what to give this? Um, I gave the previous film an 8, but I give this an 8.5. It was about the same, but there are little things that made the film better. So yeah, 8.5. So thank y'all for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell for the notifications to make sure you're notified. Once again, I do these reviews for you, the people, because I want to discuss good films, animated films like this, and get your views on them. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope to have more videos up later in the week. Peace.